Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: California Committee recommends sweeping reforms to campus sexual harassment policies. A year on, a small Ohio town is recovering from a fiery train derailment, but health fears persist. Jim Harbaugh calls Justin Herbert crown jewel of NFL, will be tasked with helping him realize that potential. Enes Baswedan, ex-Jakarta governor who wants to break from Jokowi policies. Friday's time schedule. California Committee recommends sweeping reforms to campus sexual harassment policies. Yahoo! The California Assembly Higher Education Committee released a report and recommendations Thursday on how to address sexual harassment and discrimination across the University of California, California State University and community college systems. A year on, a small Ohio town is recovering from a fiery train derailment, but health fears persist. Associated Press. Almost a year ago, a Norfolk Southern train derailed and spilled hazardous chemicals that caught fire in East Palestine, Ohio. Authorities have said that the derailment was likely caused by an overheated bearing that got as hot as 253 degrees Fahrenheit above the outside air temperature before triggering an alarm, but the crew didn't have enough warning to stop the train. At least several dozen people have not returned to their homes due to concerns about the chemicals that were released and burned when officials blew up 5 derailed tank cars because they were worried the cars might explode. There are still some people who report respiratory problems, rashes, headaches, or say they feel ill whenever they return to the village not far from the Pennsylvania border. Others believe the EPA's findings that their air and water are safe. However, it will likely take years and extensive research to understand the health implications of the derailment. Jim Harbaugh calls Justin Herbert crown jewel of NFL, will be tasked with helping him realize that potential. Yahoo! Jim Harbaugh, the new coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, stated his goal of winning multiple championships during his first news conference. Harbaugh, a reputed quarterback whisperer who has developed the likes of Andrew Luck and Colin Kaepernick, was hired to help unlock the potential of quarterback Justin Herbert. Herbert, who has shown flashes of his talent, has been inconsistent in his 4 years with the team. The Chargers have made the playoffs just once during that time. Harbaugh, who called Herbert a crown jewel, has a history of success with quarterbacks and is expected to help Herbert reach his full potential. Enes Baswedan, ex-Jakarta governor who wants to break from Jokowi policies. Nikkei Asia. Enes Baswedan, a former Jakarta governor, is positioning himself as an alternative candidate in Indonesia's upcoming presidential election. Recent opinion polls show Baswedan in second place among the 3 candidates, with support at 24.17%. Baswedan has criticized the current administration's deterioration of democracy and freedom of speech and pledged to keep the country away from feudalism and nepotism. He is popular among voters with college degrees and has support from conservative Muslim groups. Baswedan has also taken a different stance on the country's capital relocation project and questions Indonesia's global presence under the current government. Friday's time schedule. Associated Press. The following NBA games are scheduled for Friday, February 2nd. LA Clippers vs Detroit, Miami vs Washington, Phoenix vs Atlanta, Sacramento vs Indiana, Charlotte vs Oklahoma City, Golden State vs Memphis, New Orleans vs San Antonio, Orlando vs Minnesota, and Toronto vs Houston. In college basketball, number 13 Creighton will play against Butler, and number 21 Dayton will play against St. Bonaventure. In women's college basketball, number 4 Stanford will play against number 15 Southern Cal, number 6 Colorado will play against Washington State, number 7 UCLA will play against California, number 20 Utah will play against Washington, and number 25 Princeton will play against Yale. Rising seas and frequent storms are battering California's piers, threatening the iconic landmarks. Associated Press. California's iconic piers are at risk from storms, rising sea levels, and huge waves, with at least 6 public piers closed due to damage. Repair costs have reached into the millions of dollars. The damage is expected to continue this year with El Niño, which is predicted to bring more storms to California. City engineers are now considering how to redesign piers to withstand larger waves and rising sea levels, and some piers may need to be relocated or removed altogether. California's piers have undergone major repairs in the past, but officials say that they are now being damaged at an unprecedented rate. Rising sea levels, caused by global warming, are making waves bigger off California's coast, and the coast is also experiencing some of the highest tides of the season. The cost of preserving the piers is being questioned, but many consider the piers to be a Californian icon, and worth investing in to preserve. Meet the newscaster in drag making LGBTQ+ history in Mexican television. Associated Press. Guillermo Barraza, a 32-year-old journalist in Mexico City, has become the first ever drag queen to host a news program for Mexican TV. Barraza, who goes by the name Amanda in drag, uses his platform to discuss LGBTQ+ issues in a country where LGBTQ+ people and journalists are often targeted. The creation of the show, called La Ver Drag, was a response to the hate comments Barraza received after hosting a newscast dressed in drag during Mexico's Pride celebration. The program aims to create a space to discuss LGBTQ+ issues in a serious and respectful manner. Barraza's show covers a range of topics, from transgender youth in Mexico to interviews with prominent queer figures in the country. The show airs on public television station Canal Once and is a step towards greater visibility and acceptance of the LGBTQ+ community in Mexico. Barraza's decision to host a news program in drag is a powerful act of resistance in a country that is often hostile towards LGBTQ+ people. Mexico has some of the highest rates of violence against LGBTQ+ communities in Latin America, and journalists in the country are also frequently targeted. Barraza's show seeks to challenge societal norms and push the boundaries of what is considered acceptable in Mexican society. Through his drag alter ego, Barraza is able to speak out about issues that he may not feel comfortable addressing as himself. The show is a testament to the power of drag as a form of resistance and a tool for social change. However, Barraza's decision to host a news program in drag also comes with risks. Mexico is one of the deadliest countries for journalists, and LGBTQ+ people are often the targets of violence. Barraza has received death threats in the past and fears for the safety of himself and his loved ones. Despite these risks, Barraza remains committed to his work and is determined to fight for change. He believes that visibility is key to creating a more accepting and inclusive society, and he is willing to put his life on the line to make a difference. Eugene scores 28 to lead Troy to 84-63 romp over Georgia Southern. Associated Press. Troy University's Christian Eugene scored a career-high 28 points to lead the Trojans to an 84-63 victory over Georgia Southern. Eugene made 9 of 16 shots, including 5 of 8 from three-point range. Freshman Miles Rigsby added 13 points for the Trojans, while Aaron Banks scored 16 points for the Eagles. U.S. jobs report for January is likely to show that steady hiring growth extended into 2024. Associated Press. The U.S. economy is expected to have added a solid 177,000 jobs in January, according to a survey of forecasters by data firm FactSet. This follows a year of strong job growth, with an average of 225,000 jobs added each month in 2023. Economists had previously predicted a bleak 2023 for the U.S. economy, with the expectation of a recession and only 100,000 jobs added each month. However, the economy defied these predictions, delivering strong job growth without accelerating inflation pressures. The job market is expected to continue performing well in 2024, with job seekers having plenty of opportunities and employers finding hiring less difficult. The unemployment rate is expected to come in at 3.8% for January, marking 2 straight years of unemployment below 4%. Despite signs of the economy's fundamental strength, public exasperation with higher prices remains a key factor of dissatisfaction among Americans. However, consumer sentiment and inflation expectations have been improving. Calls for more specialist training as doctors choose between dream jobs and staying home. ABC. Many doctors in regional Australia are forced to relocate to metropolitan areas in order to complete their specialty training, as most specialist colleges are based in cities. The education system for doctors is perceived to be designed to send people into cities. Calls are being made for colleges to expand their training outside of cities to help retain doctors in regional areas. Recruitment of rural candidates who attended a rural medical school and did their pre-vocational training in a local hospital is seen as a good first step, but end-to-end training needs to be available in regional areas. When James Bond met the Archbishop, inside Anthony Burgess's deranged Spy Who Loved Me script. Telegraph. An outline for a James Bond film script written by author Anthony Burgess has been discovered in the Harry Ransom Center at the University of Texas. Burgess was approached by Bond producer Cubby Broccoli and director Guy Hamilton to create a totally original script for the film The Spy Who Loved Me, using only the title from Ian Fleming's novel. The outline, marked as a first draft and spanning 44 pages, features an array of outlandish and absurd plot points, including a terrorist plot to blow up the Queen, the Pope whitewashing the Sistine Chapel, and a Henry Kissinger cameo. Despite its rejection by the Bond producers, the outline contains ideas that align with later films in the series, and its rediscovery has sparked suggestions about the future direction of the franchise. I spend only 2 hours a week on my side hustle, but it will pay off my mortgage. Telegraph. Generation Z entrepreneurs are turning to dropshipping to quickly set up businesses. Dropshipping involves marketing products through an online shop, but the seller does not own any of the stock. Instead, when an order is placed, the seller orders directly from a warehouse, often in China, and the product is sent directly to the customer. This eliminates the risk of holding stock and allows entrepreneurs to quickly enter the world of business. However, the industry is rife with scams, and buyers must be cautious when purchasing from dropshipping sellers. Scientists race against tides to discover why 90,000-year-old footprints were made. ABC. A team of researchers studying boulders on a beach in Morocco have discovered the oldest human footprints in the northern Africa and southern Mediterranean region. Using optically stimulated luminescence, the team dated the footprints to the late Pleistocene period, around 90,000 years ago. The footprints cover an area of 2,800 square meters and indicate that the group were likely traveling back and forth to the sea. The discovery provides valuable insights into the behavior and interactions of early human populations during the Ice Age. However, the footprints are at risk of being destroyed due to the ongoing collapse of the rocky shore platform. Japan sends feelers to Trump, don't strike China deal that could rattle region. South China Morning Post. Japan has been trying to engage with people close to U.S. presidential hopeful Donald Trump, as it fears that a potential deal between Trump and China could jeopardize years of collective efforts to reign in Beijing. The Japanese government is concerned that if Trump is re-elected in November, he may seek a trade or security deal with China that could undermine recent efforts by the Group of Seven, G7, wealthy nations to counter China. Tokyo also worries that Trump may impose protectionist trade measures, such as tariffs on steel, and revive demands for Japan to pay more towards the cost of stationing U.S. forces in the country. The Japanese government has sent a senior ruling party official to try to meet Trump and has also engaged with think tanks and former U.S. officials aligned with Trump. Japan's outreach is part of its efforts to understand whether these issues would likely resurface and to convey Tokyo's positions. A third of China's small firms financially unwell, affecting 180 million, survey. South China Morning Post. Small businesses in China are still facing severe payment delays and other operational difficulties, according to a survey conducted by the Chinese Academy of Financial Inclusion. The survey found that over one-third of the 2,300 small and micro-sized firms surveyed in China were financially unhealthy, with 80% of those firms reporting delays in receiving payments. The report called for financial institutions and governments to help empower small firms and boost market confidence. And that's a wrap for today's news. We've covered a range of topics, from campus sexual harassment policies in California to the risk to California's peers from rising sea levels. We also talked about the first ever drag queen news program in Mexico and the discovery of the oldest human footprints in northern Africa. But let's not forget about sports, with updates on NBA and college basketball games. And we even had a glimpse into an alternate James Bond script. Now, let's dive into some analysis. The California Committee's recommendations on sexual harassment policies are a step in the right direction, but they will need to be implemented effectively to make a real difference. As for the train derailment in Ohio, it's clear that the health concerns and fears of the residents are valid and should be taken seriously. The success of the Los Angeles Chargers will largely depend on Jim Harbaugh's ability to unlock Justin Herbert's potential, and it will be interesting to see if he can replicate his success with previous quarterbacks. Anies Baswedan's alternative candidacy in Indonesia's presidential election adds an interesting dynamic to the race, and his criticism of the current administration's policies will resonate with many voters. Moving on to the world of entertainment, the discovery of Anthony Burgess's James Bond script is a fascinating glimpse into what could have been. And the rise of dropshipping as a business model for Generation Z entrepreneurs highlights the changing landscape of entrepreneurship in the digital age. In the realm of science, the discovery of the 90,000-year-old footprints provides valuable insights into our early human ancestors' behavior and interactions. And finally, Japan's efforts to engage with people close to Donald Trump reflect their concerns about a potential deal with China that could undermine their efforts to counter Beijing. Phew, that was quite a lot to cover. Now it's your turn, dear viewers. What do you think about these news stories? Do you have any thoughts or questions? I'd love to hear your perspective. So, go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of news with me, your friendly neighborhood 6 Doctor. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.